Exposed, the incredible story of how one man's hidden vision changed America forever. In the heart of Willow Creek, a fading town where rust and decay now wrapped around the homes like winter's chill, a glimmer of hope pulsed through the veins of one steadfast mechanic, Jake Turner. Day in and day out, Jake knelt over engines, wrench in hand and oil-streaked face, pouring his sweat into bringing life back to the broken cars of neighbors who had once made this town thrive. But as the sun dipped behind the hills, his heart turned toward another calling, his elderly father, Henry, who clung to memories of a better past, and Sunday evenings at the local church, where the air would tingle with the spirit of community and charity. Yet, lately, whispers filled the air. Rumors of the factory's closure were swallowing the town's dreams. It was a curse that hung over the streets, choking friendships and fraying nerves. The smiles of neighbors grew tight, and the laughter of children, once abundant, faded like the paint on the storefronts. One ordinary Tuesday, while searching through an old, dusty workshop owned by his late grandfather, Jake stumbled across a folded blueprint tucked away like a treasure. His breath hitched as he unfolded it, a revolutionary green technology, a plan that could save not only the dying factory but could reshape the very heart of Willow Creek. It glimmered with the possibility of hope. Yet as dreams sparked in Jake's chest, shadows of judgment lurked around him, as skepticism gripped the hearts of those closest, holding them in the suffocating clutches of tradition. Dreamer, they would whisper, and uncertainty crawled inside him, but he couldn't shake the feeling it was time for change. When he confided in Emily, his steadfast wife, her eyes clouded with concern. Stability hung heavy in her voice. "Keep fixing cars, Jake. Don't chase after these elusive dreams." Their exchanges turned into sharp exchanges, each word tinged with a piercing sense of fear. Jake questioned himself, was he selfish for craving more? Before that tension could crack him, a meeting with Marshall, an elderly war veteran, shifted his world. "Jake, you remind me of the courage we had in '44, he mused with bright eyes. It was a reminder of the fight against all odds, a spark igniting deep within Jake, a belief that it wasn't merely about saving a factory, but reviving a community, reigniting the spirit of those who lost their way. As Jake stood outside the town hall for an impending meeting, the weight of expectation crushed him. He glanced around, eyes darting from one familiar face to another, some open, some closed. Will they support me? A deep dread whispered in his chest. Fingers found the crumpled blueprint in his pocket, and its promise felt heavier than ever. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each heartbeat, Jake stepped closer to the door, breathing in the chilly air laced with uncertainty and hope. The creaking door held the weight of two worlds, the heavy yoke of the past and the untamed possibilities of the future. As he crossed the threshold, Jake prepared to take a stand, to challenge the fears that had gripped his town. What lay ahead was unknown, but he clung to the dream as tightly as he could, determined to see if he could turn the tide for himself and for Willow Creek. Would his voice rise above the doubts and fears, or would it drown in the suffocating silence of tradition? Jake stepped into the dimly lit room, his heart racing. Faces turned toward him, some expectant, others skeptical. The murmur of soft conversations faded, leaving a heavy silence that settled like a thick fog. The town hall, once full of laughter and resolution, felt like a battleground now, a place where hopes collided with fears. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. The words caught in his throat. Standing at the front, with eyes like piercing arrows aimed only at him, he felt small, just a mechanic from a town that was slowly losing its fight. But then he remembered the blueprint tucked in his pocket. It was more than just a plan, it was a vision. It was hope. It was the very essence of revival that Willow Creek needed. "Thank you all for coming," Jake finally managed, his voice echoing slightly in the crowded room. "I know we're all feeling the weight of uncertainty right now. I feel it too." He paused, scanning their faces, some familiar, others strangers, but all tied together by their shared struggles. "But I believe we don't have to just stand by and watch our town fade." A few heads nodded, and he seized that flicker of encouragement. "I found something," he continued, his voice gaining strength. A blueprint for a new kind of factory, a green technology to bring jobs back to Willow Creek. We could harness renewable energy, create something sustainable that not only puts food on our tables but also heals our land. Silence enveloped the room again, this time charged with a potential he hadn't felt before. Jake felt the nervous energy shift, a whisper of intrigue replaced by doubt. "You're dreaming, Jake." Someone called from the back, a voice laced with skepticism. "That kind of thing only happens in big cities, not in a place like this." "Willow Creek is more than just its past," Jake countered, heart pounding in his chest. "We have the ability to be the example. To show that a small town can innovate, can thrive. Together, we can create a future." Fingers tinged with excitement, he pulled the blueprint from his pocket, holding it up high. "This isn't just my dream, it's ours. I'm asking for your support to investigate this idea, to rally behind it. We can do this together." Behind him, anticipation grew. Some people leaned forward, eyes sparkling with curiosity, while others crossed their arms, burdened by years of doubt. He drew strength from their mixed reactions. "We owe it to ourselves. To our families. If we don't try, what will we leave behind?" As Jake spoke, Emily stood at the back of the room, arms crossed against her chest. Anxiety twisted her insides. She wanted to believe in him. But what if it all went wrong? What if this dream unraveled and left them all worse off? A battle raged in her heart, worry against love, doubt against hope. Minutes felt like hours as voices chimed in, some supportive, others harsh. The room rumbled with tension. Jake could feel it, the electric energy of a fight against complacency. A hand went up from the corner, wide-eyed and hopeful. "I want to help." A wave of voices erupted, a mix of encouragement and reluctance, challenging the stillness. Jake's resolve solidified into a solid wall of determination. The stakes were rising, tension crackling like static. He knew this was only the beginning, that this was a fork in the road, but suddenly, he felt the ground firm beneath his feet. Change was possible, it was knocking at the door. As conversation swelled, Jake watched, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through him. The crescendo of voices swirled around him. Was support rising? Would they take that first step toward revitalization together, or would fear snuff it out? What would the next steps look like for Jake and Willow Creek? Would they find unity and courage, or would doubt drown their fragile dreams in silence? The room buzzed with anticipation, a mixture of hope and skepticism hanging like thin smoke in the air. Jake felt it, each person a thread woven into the tapestry of Willow Creek's fate. He could see it now, they weren't just faces anymore. They were a community, a family bound by shared pain and dreams. One after another, timid voices rose, some offering support, others peppered with doubt. "Can a small town even pull this off?" A woman asked, worry etched on her brow. Her voice was shaky, but it broke through the noise, anchoring Jake's attention to her. "We need jobs," chimed in another man. "We need to keep our kids here." That sparked something. The murmurs grew louder, a chorus of voices mixing with cries for change. That was all Jake needed, the spark of collective hope igniting brighter in the dim room. "We can do this!" Jake shouted, raising the blueprint higher, letting the light catch it. "This design is not just a factory plan, it's a stepping stone. A bridge to a new future. Imagine kids growing up in a Willow Creek that thrives again, where they don't have to leave to find a job." He scanned the room, searching for a connection. People exchanged glances, weighing his words, shadows of doubt ebbing away as curiosity bloomed. He could almost see the walls they had built around their dreams begin to crack. Then, Emily stepped forward, hesitance in her stride. Jake's heart caught in his throat. Would she stand against him or with him? She hesitated, gauged the crowd, her heart torn between loyalty and fear. "Jake," her voice trembled. "What if this doesn't work? What if we take this leap and fall flat on our faces?" She looked vulnerable, and it struck a chord in Jake. Gathering courage, he approached her, not with answers but honesty. "Emily, we've already fallen in so many ways. What we have now isn't working. This is a chance to try something new. If we don't take risks together, we might as well throw in the towel." Surprisingly, when he looked around, he found heads nodding in agreement. What had once been a swirl of doubts now began to morph into nods of collaboration. I want to help. The voice from the corner called out again, a young man with bright eyes who had been quiet until now. He stood like he was ready to burst with energy. I know some people who specialize in renewable energy. I can reach out. Excitement flared through Jake. That's it. Let us gather our ideas. Everyone has a part to play, skills we can combine. Together, we can build a team that's unstoppable. The room erupted into a flurry of chatter. Ideas flowed like water, each voice building on the last. Jake felt an exhilarating rush of promise of change flooding through the hall, but then, as hearts raced with newfound purpose and excitement, someone in the back shouted, "What about the funding? Who will pay for this?" The worry washed over the room again, cold and heavy. Jake had been so focused on the vision, the people, he hadn't thought of that. For a moment, uncertainty clouded the bright momentum they had just built. Leave that to me. I can research grants, find partners. Jake started, but doubt clawed at him. Where would he find the strength or support needed? As chairs scraped against the wooden floor and the crowd surged with discussion, Jake felt a tingle of fear creeping back into the corners of his mind. Suddenly, the vision that had seemed so tangible a moment ago now felt precarious, teetering on the brink. Could they really make it work? Would the town rally enough to face larger, unseen obstacles? Fear loomed, but so did hope. As whispers turned into plans, Jake caught sight of Emily again, her expression a mirror of the town's heart. Hope and doubt wrestled fiercely within her. He'd make her believe. He had to. But behind that flicker of hope, a deeper truth lurked in the shadows. Someone was watching. Someone who wanted to see Willow Creek fail. Could Jake and the townsfolk withstand this unseen threat? What plan was lurking in the dark, waiting to sabotage their dream? The echoes of chatter filled the room, but in that moment, Jake was lost in thought. The momentum they had created felt like quicksand, shifting and unpredictable. He had to ground it again, bring everyone back to the heart of their vision. Okay, everyone. Let us refocus. Jake called out, raising his hands to quiet the crowd. We're in this together, and we all share one goal, to bring Willow Creek back to life. Let us put our minds together and outline our next steps. And I promise, I'll tackle the funding issue. A wave of nods swept through the room as he continued, let us think about what we can do right now. What skills do we have? What resources? Who can reach out to potential investors? As he led the discussion, he noticed Emily moving to the front. She took a deep breath, and Jake held his breath in anticipation. I can help with communications, she said with more confidence than before. I know how to write proposals and reach out through social media. I can connect with local businesses, maybe even get them on board. A smile broke across Jake's face. That's perfect, Emily. We need connections and local support to make this work. The nervous energy in the room transformed into a buzz of excitement. People began to reveal their skills. A woman from the back stood up, I can help organize community events. We can fundraise and spread the word. I've got tools and a small team ready to assist. Came a voice from another corner, a burly man with a thick beard, lifting a fist triumphantly. Ideas soared, mingling with laughter and eager whispers as they began to shape a plan. The more they shared, the more the initial doubts faded away, replaced by a sense of purpose and solidarity. The emotional knots gradually loosened, replaced with a lightness that filled the room, but as the voices rose in enthusiasm, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of eyes tracing over them, an invisible presence lurking just beyond the glow of their unity. Jake, Emily began, but he cut her off. Let us write these ideas down. We'll make a list and keep track. His voice drowned out a faint rustle from the hallway, causing him to pause. A shadow flitted across the doorway, and Jake's heart raced. Who could it be? Was he imagining things, or was there really someone listening, someone who wanted to thwart their efforts? All right, focus back on me, he said, trying to shake the growing discomfort. The urgency thrummed through him like a drum. We need to create a timeline, milestones for the next few months. Let us hold each other accountable. People nodded, but Jake's eyes drifted. He felt a tug of anxiety knot in his stomach. Every second counted. They couldn't afford distractions. As names were called out, a voice brought his attention back. And what about the dream board? We should make one, too, to visualize what we're building together. It was the young man with bright eyes again. His enthusiasm was infectious, and Jake felt a smile creep into his expression. Exactly. He responded, encouraged. Let us see our dream laid out, something we can touch, feel. A physical reminder that we are on this journey together. The room erupted in cheers, and Jake felt a surge of energy coursing through him. But he was still haunted by that flicker of doubt. Just then, the door creaked open wider, and an unfamiliar face stepped inside. A man with a sharp suit and a predatory grin. The chatter faltered, uncertainty rippling across the crowd. Hello, everyone. I couldn't help but overhear your little gathering, the man drawled, his gaze sweeping across the assembled townsfolk. Seems like quite a plan you've got there. Jake's heart raced anew, clenching tightly as the man's presence filled the space with a chilling sense of foreboding. What did he want? Was he a friend or a foe? With a smile that didn't reach his eyes, the man leaned casually against the doorframe. You really think this community can pull off such a lofty goal? I might be able to help you, if the price is right. A hush fell over the room. Jake felt the air thicken with tension. This wasn't just about fixing Willow Creek anymore. There were stakes now, choices to be made that could alter everything. What would happen next? Would they accept help from an unknown source? Or would they stand firm together against this new threat? Jake squared his shoulders. The challenge was far from over. Jake's heart raced as the stranger's words hung heavy in the air, like a dark cloud threatening to drown out their hard-won motivation. He exchanged quick glances with Emily, who looked equally uneasy but resolute. The abrupt presence of this man had shifted the energy in the room. It felt fragile, like glass waiting to shatter. Who are you? Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. The unfamiliar man uncrossed his arms, the corners of his mouth curling into a grin that felt more like a warning than an invitation. My name is Donovan Gray, he said smoothly, glancing around the room. And I specialize in opportunities. He had the kind of voice that dripped with charm, but there was a hollowness beneath it that sent Jake's instincts into overdrive. What kind of opportunity? Jake pressed, taking a step forward, fueled by a blend of curiosity and caution. Donovan's eyes sparkled with intrigue. Well, let us just say I have access to resources and connections that could catapult your little project here into a thriving hub. Imagine an influx of funding, a bustling community center, local businesses thriving. He swept an arm wide, as if painting a vivid picture only he could see. Dreams dangled in the air like ripe fruit. The room murmured as people leaned in, captivated. But Jake felt a knot tightening in his gut. There was a catch, he just knew it. And all it would take is a signature on a very simple agreement, Donovan continued, oozing confidence. I could help steer you to where you need to be, but you'd have to work with me. Work with you? How? Emily interjected, her tone sharper than before. Let us just say I have a particular way of doing business. You scratch my back, I scratch yours, Donovan replied, tilting his head slightly. The smirk on his face was arrogant, as if he relished the moment, the power he held over them. A wash of tension swept through the crowd. Jake noticed the glimmer in some eyes: hope, fear, surrender. He felt the stakes elevating, pulling at the emotions simmering beneath the surface. We can make this work on our own, Jake finally responded, striving to project strength. We don't need your help. His words were firm, though doubt lingered. Would they indeed be able to do this alone? Donovan chuckled, an unsettling sound. Authenticity is admirable, Jake, but it doesn't pay the bills. You don't know what you're up against, he said, straightening and stepping closer. And neither do your friends. Willow Creek is more complicated than you think. You want to save it? You'll need money, real money. I can help with that. In that moment, silence wrapped around them like a blanket. The crowd, once buzzing with excitement and dreams, now seemed to teeter on a precipice. Jake felt the weight of their eyes on him, searching for guidance. Do we trust this man, or do we fight back? He thought to himself. The reality was that everyone was holding their breath, waiting for him to lead. But as Jake scanned their faces, he saw something he hadn't expected to resolve, a glint of determination that mirrored his own. They had already decided to try. They had chosen hope over despair. I appreciate your offer, Donovan, Jake said finally, standing tall, but we're not looking for shortcuts. We want to do this ourselves. Donovan narrowed his eyes but offered a curt nod. Suit yourself. Just remember, sometimes the best intentions lead to the worst outcomes. With that, he straightened his jacket and turned, glancing back only once before he slipped out the door. The tension hung thick, but a palpable energy stirred the room once more. Jake inhaled deeply, grounding himself in the moment. We can do this, he rallied. Let us get back to our plan. Who's ready to start? As they regrouped, a new sense of purpose settled in, igniting the conversations anew. Yet, just beneath the surface, residual uncertainty lingered. Jake could still feel the impact of Donovan's words, but amidst it all, a thought persistently pressed against his mind: what if Donovan was right? The reality of their challenges loomed larger now. A storm gathering just on the horizon. Jake knew that if they were to succeed, they needed to brace themselves. The path ahead would not only test their resolve but would lead them into uncharted territory. What other secrets lay beneath the surface of Willow Creek? How far would they have to go to achieve their dream? As the door clicked shut behind Donovan, an uneasy stillness settled over the room. Jake could feel the weight of the decision they had just made pressing down on him, wrapping around him like a fog. The murmurs of the crowd faded into a dull hum while he tried to gather his thoughts. Jake, Emily said, breaking the silence, her voice steady but tinged with concern. Do you think we did the right thing? She shifted her weight nervously from one foot to the other. Yeah. I mean, we can't let him win, right? Jake replied, but he wondered if that was really enough. The way Donovan had spoken, with such confidence and authority, made Jake's heart sink a little. We just need a solid plan, Emily said, as she scanned the room, her resolve visible. What if we organize a fundraiser? We gather the community, show them we're serious. Maybe we can find local businesses that want to invest. Jake felt a flicker of hope at her words, but it was quickly overshadowed by the lingering doubt. That's a great idea, Emily. But it takes more than just a fundraiser. We need a vision, a real strategy. He trailed off, feeling overwhelmed. Let us brainstorm, someone from the crowd suggested. Jake recognized the voice. It was Mark, one of the younger community members who had a knack for creative thinking. If we can identify our strengths, we can make a pitch to potential sponsors, not just businesses but families too. Each of us has a story, right? The idea sparked a fire in Jake's chest. He leaned in, excitement growing inside him. Yes. Each story can connect us, can pull the community together. We need to share what Willow Creek means to us, he said, almost breathless. Let us divide into groups, Emily suggested, her eyes shining with purpose. We'll craft our pitches. Find out what resources we have and who we can reach out to. The room buzzed to life again, as people broke off into smaller clusters. Jake felt a swell of camaraderie as they brainstormed everything from bake sales to art shows, all while connecting deeper with the heart of Willow Creek. But as the ideas flowed, Jake couldn't shake the nagging voice in the back of his mind. What if they were all just short-sighted? What if Donovan had seen something they hadn't? After a while, they all gathered back together, energy palpable in the air. Emily took a step forward and said, "All right, everyone. Let us share our ideas." One by one, they presented their plans. Jake smiled, encouraging each person, but as much as he tried to focus on the enthusiasm surrounding him, flashes of Donovan's smirk lingered at the edge of his mind. It was irritating, like a pesky fly that wouldn't leave. Finally, as the night wore on, the group settled on one powerful idea: a community festival, an event that would not only showcase local businesses but also reignite the town spirit. Jake felt elation rippling through him as they shared laughter and excitement about the potential event. But just as the evening began to wind down, a figure appeared in the doorway. Donovan Gray. Interesting turn of events, he remarked, a confident swagger in his step. But do you really believe that LL be enough to change things around here? Jake's stomach dropped. The energy in the room shifted as every head turned towards the door. It was as if the very air had thickened. Can we really build this community up against that kind of temptation? Donovan continued, weaving into the space like he owned it. I'm just here to remind you easier paths exist. His gaze settled on Jake, a challenge hidden beneath layers of charm. The crowd held its breath, and Jake could feel the pulse of uncertainty thrumming through them. Is it worth it? Donovan's voice danced above the whispers. Jake clenched his fists. No more waiting. They had to take a stand and prove him wrong. Yeah, it is. And we won't let you or anyone take that away from us, Jake shouted, his voice breaking the stillness. For a moment, silence fell. Then, one by one, heads began to nod. But as Donovan's silhouette disappeared into the night, Jake felt the shadows creeping back in. What if he was right about the darkness lurking in their present? Questions loomed. Shadows stretched ever longer. The true battle was beginning. Would their determination withstand the reality of what was to come? What would it take for them to believe in their mission and themselves? The following days passed in a blur of activity. Jake poured himself into the planning. Each day, he met with Emily and the others, coming to life in the camaraderie that ignited within the group. Ideas flew back and forth like sparks, each one igniting the next. They painted banners, arranged seating, and debated the menu for food stalls. But behind the excitement lay an ever-looming shadow. Donovan's words echoed in his mind, taunting him. As they gathered in the town square, old oak trees watched over them, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. The sun dipped low, bathing everyone in a warm glow. Jake felt a flicker of optimism as he surveyed the eager faces around him, but that feeling didn't easily banish the weight in his chest. Let us make it a day to remember. Emily chirped, holding up a handmade poster. We can bring stories to life, the legends of Willow Creek. We can feature old photographs and tales from residents. The crowd cheered, but a quick glance around told Jake not everyone was convinced. He caught sight of Mark, an innocent enthusiasm on his face, contrasted by the worry pooling in his eyes. It seemed like everyone shared the uncertainty that Jake felt, but none wanted to voice it just yet. That night, as Jake lay in bed, he tossed and turned with questions that illuminated the darkness like flashes of lightning. What if they were all living in a bubble? What if the festival wasn't enough to hold back the tide Donovan threatened? The glimmer of their dreams clashed violently against the edges of reality. By morning, Jake resolved to confront those fears directly. He called a meeting, urging everyone to be honest. What are our real challenges? He asked, intensity cracking his voice. Are we thinking big enough? Are we ready for what's coming? He could feel the tension in the air as a few exchanged wary glances. Emily was the first to speak up. I think we can do this, but we have to gather more support. We need to involve every corner of Willow Creek, share the fears, the hopes, the dreams. It will take the whole community. Yes. Mark chimed in, excitement blending with nervousness. What if we reach out to the schools? The kids can get involved with art projects, telling their stories, dreaming big. The more voices we have, the stronger we'll be. Jake nodded, a swell of pride rising. Together, they crafted letters, spoke to schools, and spread the word. Their efforts began to gain momentum, a ripple effect spreading across the town. Then, just as confidence started to build, a familiar shadow appeared on the edge of their efforts. Donovan's name floated through conversations, a reminder of the threats his charm dangled like a spider's web, insidious and enticing. Did you hear? A voice said in the back of the crowd one evening. Donovan is holding his own community event, right before ours. He's got some big sponsors lined up. Jake's heart dropped. Fear melted into dread. It was more than just a competition, it was a challenge to the very spirit they were trying to reclaim. The chatter grew rife with uncertainty. Maybe we should think about changing our dates, one voice suggested hesitantly, and Jake felt a pang of betrayal within. That wasn't the spirit they fought for. No. Jake shook his head, clenching his fists. We can't let him dictate what we do. We stick to our plans. We show Willow Creek what real community means. The room erupted into a mix of support and fear, jaws clenched, hands fidgeting nervously. But his resolve was contagious. One by one, faces lit with determination. As they began to regain focus, the energy shifted once more. People snapped pictures for flyers, enthusiasm returning with each snap of a camera, but as they prepared for their festival, Jake couldn't shake a growing sense of urgency. Donovan was not just a competitor, he could turn the tide, and they needed a plan that was more than just heart. Jake! Emily called, breaking his concentration. I think we need to have a community meeting again, a town hall. We can ask them what they want to see at this festival. Let us really make it for them. The idea rippled through him, igniting a fire. Yes. We gain their input and their investments. Let us do this. As plans began to form yet again, Jake couldn't help but think, was it possible? Could this community truly stand together against the tide of fear? But a sliver of doubt kept nagging at him. What if it was too late? That night, amidst the chaos of unyielding purpose, Donovan's brief shadow haunted every step they took. The challenge ahead was not just about proving themselves, it was about survival. Jake stood on the edge of uncertainty, staring into the murky depths ahead. Was he prepared to face the reality of his community's response? Just how far would they go to create something that truly mattered? As the days melted into one another, the anticipation surrounding the festival grew like the heat of summer. Jake threw himself into combing through every suggestion collected from the community. Each idea was a thread, and he was determined to weave them into something spectacular. At the next town hall meeting, people filled the community center, warm bodies buzzing with energy. The smell of fresh popcorn drifted from the corners, tempting those who waited. Faces of old and young alike sparkled in the fluorescent light, a tapestry of hope stitched into a shared purpose. Okay, everyone. Jake clapped his hands to gather attention. Let us hear what you all want. No idea is too big or too small. A flood of voices erupted, painting the room with dreams. They talked about music, food, games, and history, each suggestion spilling forward like an overflowing cup. Jake felt the pulse of his own heartbeat quicken with every passionate idea. This wasn't just a festival anymore, it was a rebirth of Willow Creek. People expressed concerns too. A soft-spoken elder rose, her hands trembling slightly. What if Donovan tries to sabotage us? Her voice was shaky, but it spoke a truth they all felt. He is powerful, and he knows how to convince people. Jake's stomach twisted. She was right, and he hated it. We'll counter his charm with our own, he said, projecting confidence he didn't fully feel. Let us come together, show our strength in numbers. Emily stood, passion igniting her voice. We can have story stations where people share personal tales. Our stories are our strength. The reaction was immediate. Approvals and murmurs of agreement flowed through the crowd. Each person wanted a piece of this, they felt ownership. Jake began to believe they could pull it off. Scattered conversations rose and fell, ideas tossing about like confetti. But in the back of his mind, Donovan's looming threat never faded. He could already hear the whispers of division Donovan could stir amongst them if he played his cards right. Was Jake's idealism strong enough to keep the community united? As everyone filed out, he pulled Emily aside, needing the steadiness she always provided. What do you think? Are we moving too fast? Her brow furrowed in thought. No, this is what we need. But we have to be smart about it. We need to find ways to draw people in, families, businesses, even Donovan's supporters. She stepped back, her eyes brightening. What if we invite Donovan to be a part of it? Give him a stage. Show him what real community looks like. It could work in our favor. Jake blinked, taken aback. Invite him? Seriously? His mind spun. Could they really welcome the very person threatening their spirit? Yes. Emily said, her conviction unwavering. Let us take this opportunity to shift the narrative. If we're inclusive, we can turn the tide. It'll keep a rupture from forming, at least until the festival. Jake's heart raced with possibility. Fine. We'll invite him. But we'll watch for any tricks. We need to stay vigilant. Days rolled into weeks until the festival date loomed large on the horizon like an approaching storm. With every poster hung, every flyer distributed, excitement crackled in the air, but somewhere deep in his gut, Jake felt a dissonance. They were building something beautiful, yet Donovan's shadow stretched long over everything they built. He could still hear her worry echo what would happen when Donovan walked through those festival gates. That evening, Jake stood outside, staring at the preparations around him. The energy felt electric as voices mixed with laughter and the distant sound of music. But the seriousness of the situation weighed heavily on his mind. Suddenly, a small figure darted past him. It was Mark, clutching a poster with the words Festival of Hope splashed across it. As he ran, he called back gleefully, "We've got this, Jake. We really do." But Jake's heart ached with doubt. What if hope wasn't enough? His pulse quickened as he went inside, a plan forming in the chaos of his mind. The festival was close, but would it truly live up to all their hopes? Could they really hold their own against Donovan? As the clock ticked on, he sensed the storm drawing near, threats and promises enveloping him. Would Willow Creek stand firm or crumble? The day of the festival dawned bright, full of promise and shimmering anticipation. The sun painted the sky in swirls of orange and pink, banishing the early morning chill. Jake stepped outside, taking a deep breath infused with the smell of cut grass and blooming flowers. It was the perfect day, or so it seemed. Jake made his way to the town square, heart pounding with each step. Stalls lined the streets, vibrant colors splashed everywhere. The carnival atmosphere was alive with laughter, the sound of joyful chatter mingling with music drifting through the air. Yet, beneath this joyful surface, tension crawled under Jake's skin. Donovan's presence loomed like a dark cloud waiting to break. He spotted Emily at the food stand, handing out freshly baked pies, her smile lighting up the area around her. She caught his eye and waved, her enthusiasm infectious. "Jake! Look at this crowd! They love it!" She beamed, and for a brief moment, he felt his worries lift. "Yeah, it's amazing," he replied, but his voice wavered. "What if Donovan shows up and tries to stir things up? I don't want to ruin this." "Stop," Emily said, her expression steady. "We've worked too hard. No matter what he does, we stand together. Remember, we're a community." Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the stage. Jake turned to see Mark bouncing up and down with excitement. "They're starting the storytelling," he exclaimed, pointing towards the stage where the first speaker, an elderly man from the town, took the microphone. Jake's heart swelled. Stories were the thread tying them together, a powerful reminder of their shared history and dreams. As one tale turned into another, laughter and tears wove through the crowd. Yet in the back of his mind, a warning bell rang. What would happen if Donovan decided to break their momentum? No sooner had he entertained the thought than a familiar figure appeared on the fringe of the crowd. Donovan. Clad in a crisp suit, he surveyed the scene, a knowing smirk on his face that twisted Jake's stomach. "Stay calm," Emily whispered as she sensed his unease. "We can handle him." Donovan was flanked by a few of his supporters, their eyes darting around, scrutinizing every joyful face. It was a calculated gaze, one that scanned for cracks to exploit. Jake felt a chill cascade down his spine as Donovan's voice boomed out. "Interesting gathering you have here. Not that any of you could ever do better than what I offer." A hush fell over the crowd, a collective gasp echoing through the air. Jake clenched his fists, heart racing. This was the moment of truth, and they had to stand united. Willow Creek has its own strength. Jake shouted, stepping forward, voice firm. "We're not here for your charm, Donovan. We're here for one another." Donovan raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise flashing across his face. A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd, voices ignited by the challenge. People started to step forward, inches taller with newfound conviction, ready to side with Jake. The tension thickened as Donovan smiled, but it wasn't warm. A charming sentiment, but let us see how long that holds up. Then, Jake caught a glimpse of resolve on the faces of those around him. Emily's eyes locked onto his, and in that moment, something shifted. This was more than a festival, it wasn't just about joy and laughter. It was a stand. Jake felt the tide rising. Their stories mattered, their unity mattered, but would it be enough to shield them against Donovan's manipulations? Just as he opened his mouth to regain control of the moment, the crushing weight of uncertainty surged again. If they faltered now, it could mean everything. Would they crumble under pressure, or could they turn this confrontation into a moment of strength? From the corner of his eye, he saw Mark gripping his poster tightly, face determined. "We stand together!" Mark shouted, and an echo of agreement buzzed through the crowd, igniting the air with resolve. Jake's heart raced, and as he faced Donovan, he wondered, was this truly the beginning of their fight or just the start of their undoing? The festival thrummed with energy, but tension crackled in the air like a summer storm. Faces turned toward Jake, the weight of hope etched into their expressions. He knew this was a defining moment, everything hinged on standing firm against Donovan's undermining words. "Right here, right now, this is our community," Jake called out, the conviction in his voice cutting through the murmurs. "We're not just a group of individuals, we're a family. We've come together to share our stories and dreams. We've come together to fight." A roaring cheer erupted from the crowd. Those voices surged like a tidal wave, an affirmation of their collective strength. Jake felt the power of unity ripple through him, igniting a fire within. For a moment, Donovan's shock was palpable, disbelief lingering in the air like dark smoke, threatening to choke out the light of their gathering. "That's cute, Jake," Donovan replied, a sardonic smile etched on his face. "But let us be real. History shows that without proper backing, dreams flounder. You can't just wish for a future, it takes real power and resources." Jake swallowed hard, self-doubt crept in like shadows creeping across the ground. He glanced at Emily again, her coaxing smile reignited his resolve. "We have resources," Jake declared, a tremor of confidence shivering in his voice. "We have stories. We have each other. And we're going to prove that Willow Creek is more than just a fading town. We're building a future here today." Mark raised his poster high, the words "Festival of Hope" catching the eye of every onlooker. "Together, we can dream big, and together, we can make it happen. Let us support our neighbors, our families." Cheers erupted once more. The community rallied around them, stepping closer, forming a united front against Donovan's creeping influence. The darkness that threatened to engulf their spirits began to fray, with hope igniting brighter than ever, but Donovan stepped forward, an insidious grin still plastered on his face. "You really think this is enough? Tell me, when the reality of money and investment comes knocking, who will you turn to then? You can't fuel a dream with just warmth and chatter." It was a stark challenge that sparked whispers through the crowd. Doubt festered, feeding on insecurities. Jake could feel the uncertainty creeping back in. He glanced through the audience, seeing concerned faces, the weight of reality pressing on them like a heavy cloak. In that decisive moment, he took a deep breath, channeling the energy of the festival into his very core. Willow Creek has always been more than its past. He shouted, letting passion seep into every word. "We are people who stand for one another. We're not here to simply survive, we're here to thrive." Boisterous cheers erupted anew, lighting a fire behind his words. Emily stepped beside him, hand on his shoulder, her supportive squeeze reminded him they were in this together. "We thrive on our strengths, our stories, our connections," she added, her voice ringing harmoniously with his. Faces around them lit up with renewed determination, a bloom of light against Donovan's shady presence. "You're right," a woman from the crowd called. "We've done it before. With unity comes strength." Jake felt the room shimmer with resolution. This was their moment, they would not allow Donovan to extinguish the flame they ignited. Donovan, sensing a shift and rattled by the newfound unity, took a step back. "Well, enjoy your quaint little fairy tale, but remember that reality often has a way of giving harsh lessons," he said, his voice dripping with disdain, as he turned and retreated, disappearing back into the throngs of festival goers. A collective sigh of relief washed over the crowd, hands grabbing shoulders, a sense of shared triumph electrifying the air. they had stood and fought back. As the festival continued, laughter echoed, stories flowed, and the spirit of Willow Creek began to breathe life into the once quiet town. Families shared meals, children played, it was a mosaic of memories being stitched anew. Together they built dream stations, hanging photographs, and paintings, each piece representing the essence of their rich community. Jake watched as the sun dipped low on the horizon and the golden light bathed the square. It flickered with possibility, hope pulsating vibrantly. He clasped Emily's hand, warmth spreading through him. "We really did it," he whispered, awe mixed with disbelief. "We're just getting started," Emily beamed, her eyes shining like stars. "This is just the beginning of Willow Creek's transformation. Together, we can face anything." And in that moment, Jake knew they could weather any storm. Amidst laughter and cheers, he no longer felt haunted. They were more than mere mechanics, bakers, or shopkeepers, they were a tapestry of tenacity woven together. As the night unraveled into a symphony of jazz and camaraderie, he felt a sense of fullness swell within his heart. They had taken a stand, sparked a resurgence, and reclaimed Willow Creek. It would be a long road ahead, but Jake realized they had forged a bond that couldn't be easily broken. This time, the shadows didn't frighten him. They would thrive, united, together. So here is the moment to act. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss more exclusive stories that inspire. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now, let us fuel that algorithm and share this transformative journey. Comment below your feelings about this incredible ending and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Be part of this rising community.